Is your organization ready for the potential supply chain disruptions and tariffs that could happen in 2025? My name is Greg Pitstick. I'm a managing director at Huron Consulting, and we've just created a playbook for organizations that they can follow to prepare their organization for the choppy waters of the supply chain ahead. The first thing you need to do is assign a quarterback. Who's going to coordinate this activity across the various silos in your organization? Because it can impact everything from purchasing, it could impact engineering, manufacturing, distribution, logistics, pricing, finance. Your entire organization can be impacted by the choppy waters that we're entering into for 2025. The next thing to do is get a good handle of your data. What are the products that you're buying? What countries are they sourced from? And you have to look at this both from a direct standpoint, what are you buying, but also what's going into your customers. Then you need to do some sensitivity analysis to say which ones really matter. Now there's an interesting thing that happened the last time tariffs came in, and it also happened during the pandemic, and that is global demand shifted around. And so you may be sourcing something domestically, but global demand from China or Mexico or somewhere else may shift to the United States and consume the capacity that you were expecting from your supplier. So as part of this analysis, you need to also identify what are the key components that go into your supply chain and into your product that may have capacity constraints because of manufacturing capability, raw material, labor, whatever it is. You need to identify those. Once you get a good handle of your data, you can start doing some high-level scenario planning as to how you're going to handle potential impacts in 2025. Now you're moving into the midterm. The next thing you need to do is look at your supply chain. When I say your supply chain, I'm not talking right now about your suppliers and your supplier's suppliers. You've already looked at that as data analysis. You need to look at internally your organization from the point that you do your demand forecast, your SIOP or SNOP, you turn that into a consensus plan. How do you do your material planning? How do you do your production planning? How your entire supply chain fits together. What are your capabilities? Because when waters become choppy and you get hit by a big wave from the side, you have to be able to very quickly steer that ship. Organizations that are all in Excel and everyone has their own little component, things change in the outside world, they can't collaborate and work well together. You need to build a resilient, integrated supply chain organization where everyone is using the same data in the same system, working together in an integrated fashion. And a lot of manufacturing organizations don't have that type of organization today. And what you need to do is first take an assessment as to where you are from a maturity standpoint, and then decide based upon the choppy waters that we're going into, what's the first, second, and third thing that you need to work on, and do them in small sprints. We recommend our clients to take 12-week sprints to improve their supply chain, to get the data fixed, to get people into the systems and start working together. So no matter when the supply chain disruptions that come, you've made progress. Then finally, you need to think about the longer term. How'd you get in this situation? And there's two components to this. The first is rethink the way that you actually have sourcing organized. What you should do is back when you're actually designing your product long term, think about what is strategic, what should we have in-house, what should be designed that can be made locally right next door versus what key components can we have either regionally or globally. Because by the time it hits your sourcing organization today, it may be too late to change things around. And then the other component is work with your suppliers differently. You need to have more collaboration with your suppliers, and especially your key suppliers that have capacity constraints. I've worked with a lot of organizations in the past year where they had part outages because their suppliers didn't have capacity to meet their demand, but yet they were never collaborating with their supplier, talking about what their forecasts were for that part and understanding from the supplier standpoint how much capacity they have. So you need to have a much more dynamic and integrated relationship with those key suppliers. And there's some other knock-on effects to this. When waves come in and you're out this particular part, this bracket, this piston, these components go into your product, that's going to happen. Is your organization going to be able to handle the shock when it does come? Do you have capabilities on the order side to give available to promise, where you can give allocations out to your key customers, and then for others where it's available to promise based upon that key component's availability. Does your manufacturing organization have the ability to have clear to build reports so they know what I could be building this week, next week, and the week after based upon material availability? And does that extend across your supply chain, not just in an individual factory, but from factory to factory? Those are all the things you have to get right in order to build a resilient supply chain that can handle the choppy waters that we all see coming. And again, to help you, we have a playbook that you can download and use to drive the organization forward.